Yes, guys. Welcome to another episode of Zina Acting Tips. And today we are going to be talking about self-tapes. So, we've seen such a progression in this industry where self-tapes are concerned. So it used to be 5 years ago that your first audition would usually be an in-person audition. And I called it quite a long time ago. I said, look, the way it's going, more and more casting directors, producers are going to rely on self-tapes because it's such an efficient way of kind of filtering through actors, particularly actors that need to travel to London, travel long distances. They've done it in America for a long time, VHS tapes being thrown across the country just purely because of the geography. In this country, it's been quite a long time kind of coming to where we've got now. It used to be 5%, maybe 5 years ago, where it was self-tape auditions. Now it's 95%, very nearly 100%, particularly for those first auditions. So actors don't have an excuse. They need to be good at self-taping. So I'm going to give you as many tips as I can to help you basically do the best self-tapes and kind of have the best self-taping, what do we call it, mechanism. Let's call it a mechanism, right? So when you get self-tape from your agent or direct, you need to have what I call a contingency in place. You need to know who, you need to know what, and you need to know where. Who you're going to do it with, what you're going to use, and where you're going to do it. All right, so make sure that you know that before the self-tape comes in, because time is of the essence, all right? I'm going to go through each of those stages in a second, but just make sure, let's talk about time. Just make sure that you get these self-tapes in quickly. I don't want to say anything that might get me into trouble, but I just think you have more of a chance if you get that self-tape in early. I think it gets more consideration. I think it gets looked at maybe just a bit more. All right, without going and getting myself into trouble, I just think get it in early, get it in quickly. Okay, so that's enough of that. So who you do it with, make sure you get somebody on board who's quick and has the time and is up for doing it. All right, make sure that they will jump and that they will help you do it quickly. When you are doing that particular tape, when they're doing that tape with you, make sure that their voice is a bit quieter. All right, that they don't overperform. What do you use? Phones, okay? Make sure that you try and make it as close to what it would be filmed on. So this is, for instance, 4K, and you've got the choice of different frame rates per second. As close to 24, 25 usually gives you that kind of cinematic effect. All right, so a bit of a tip there. Make sure you have it nice and close, bit closer than this, all right? Make sure that it's literally engaging with the eyes, so you're nice and close. Make sure that the person you're reading with is just off camera. Not like that, literally just off, so that you can both engage with the casting director, whoever's watching it, and the person who's reading in with you. That's very important. That's a big, massive tip, okay? Next up, where? All right, so say for instance, this is a dinner table here. So say for instance, it was a scene at a dinner table. Use the dinner table. You're trying to make it as easy for them to imagine you doing the role as possible. All right, so make sure you use the dinner table, use the living room if it's part of the scene. If it's not, go to your blank background. But don't feel so rigid about the way that you do your self-tapes. All right, with regards to sending it, WeTransfer.com, it's the most secure, most safe. Make sure you use it. Make sure you know how to use it. It's a big file. Do 3 different versions, okay? And a slate. A slate, if you don't know, is your name, your age, your agent, where you're from. A lot of the times they'll ask for specific things on there, but if not, just do one anyway. Do 3 different versions of the scene, okay? Make sure that you block the scene. Don't make it boring. Walk into shot. Turn here, grab this thing, make it interesting. Don't just think you have to be rigid, sat there in front of a blank screen. This is your audition. Make it work. Finally, labeling. make sure you label the files really effectively. Name, character name, agent, age, all of it. A lot of the times the casting directors will ask for specific labeling. So make sure you give them exactly what they want, because they're getting more and more stringent of saying, look, if I can't identify it, how am I going to be able to work with these videotapes? So label them version 1, version 2, version 3, add the rest of it on, name, age, agent on the file name, put slate and then name, age, agent, all of that information that they require. Make sure you do it. Don't cut corners. Label the files properly. Final thing, lighting. I'm not a lighting expert, most actors aren't, okay? But just get as much light onto the foreground by whatever means you can, whether it's ring lights, whether it's good lighting in a room, whether it's you have to bring the lamps down, doesn't matter. Just get as much light as you can on you so that you effectively are well lit and stand out and the light bounces off you into the camera. All right? Simple as that. Try and make it simple for yourself, but be really, really effective. You have all the equipment you need to do a really incredible self-tape, so use it. Like I say, if you follow all those tips, get it done within 24, 48 hours. You have a contingency of who, what, where, all of the technical specification kind of tips and the way you perform it, all right? The blocking, making sure that you do really take risks with it, do something with that scene. You will become an incredibly good self-taper. And in 2022, you need to basically have a factory at home, a factory just churning out good self-tapes constantly, and you will succeed, okay? I hope that was incredibly useful. I hope that was incredibly good content. I'm sure it was, because if you make notes and you follow all of those steps, your self-tape game will go through the roof, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Matt Zina Acting Tips. Make sure you subscribe, press the bell button, and I will see you for another episode next week.